Good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be looking at solving a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. I'm going to show you where it came from in a separate video, like a bonus pod. You can subscribe to my Patreon for full access to that. That's a joke. You can just see the separate video. But there will be a separate video proving that that this works. But I just wanted to make sure that we're able to do it. So we need to make sure that the equation is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And then we're going to use x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Some people remember that by singing it to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you can do that. And there's plenty of YouTube videos. That's a whole subgenre. I'm sure you could go check it out if you're really interested. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're just going to go through these 3 examples. They're fairly simple. So remember, it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is going to give us both solutions. That's why there's a plus or minus in there. So my a here is 1, my b is negative 6, my c is negative 10. So I'm going to say x equals 6, because it's negative b, plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to write it all out, negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 10 all over 2 times 1. So x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 plus 40 all over 2. 36, the positive 40 is from the negative 4 times the negative 10. X equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 76 all over 2. I can factor out a 4 out of that 76. So x would equal 6 plus or minus 2 root 19 over 2. And now I have 6 and 2 on top and then 2 on bottom. I can divide out a common factor of 2. So this would just be 3 plus or minus radical 19. Those are my 2 solutions to that quadratic equation. Let's try again. Here, remember, one side needs to be 0, so I'm going to subtract 3x and 5 over. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. So x would equal 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 5 all over 2 times 2. So x would equal 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 4 times 2 is 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. So plus 40 all over 4. So x would equal 3 plus or minus 7 over 4. I'll let you double check me on that math, but I think it checks out. 3 plus 7 is 10 over 4, which is 5 halves. Or 3 minus 7 is negative 4 over 4, which equals negative 1. This tells me that we could have factored it since we got nice rational solutions. So this might not have been the most efficient method of solving this equation, but it worked. Remember, if we get something that we can simplify down to a whole number, you should absolutely, or a rational number, we should absolutely do that. If you have a radical, leave the radical in there, unless otherwise specified. All right, last example, we have 2 squared plus 4x plus 5. So a is 2, b is 4, c is 5. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 2 times 5 all over 2 times 2. So x will equal negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 80 all over 4. I'm seeing I'm going to have some imaginary solutions here. X will equal negative 4 plus or minus the square root 16 minus 80, 64. Negative, though. Over 4. So therefore, x would equal negative 4 plus or minus 8i over 4. And I can divide out the 4 now, and I'll have negative 1 plus or minus 2i. We can have slightly more complicated examples. Sometimes it's helpful to multiply or divide by a constant. So for example, I've told you guys, I really don't like when my leading coefficient is negative. It throws me off, and I think it sometimes causes more problems than it's worth. It causes floating negatives that just that wreak havoc with you guys. So I recommend dividing that negative 1 out first, and then saying that it's 3x squared minus 2x minus 7 equals 0. And then just solving that equation. It's an equivalent equation. It does not matter. 4 minus 4 times 3 times negative 7 all over 2 times 3. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 12 times 7 is 84. All over 6. X would equal 2 plus or minus the square root of 88 over 6. Radical 88, I can simplify that to, if I take the 4 out, 2 radical 11 over 6. I can take a common factor of 2 out of here. So that'll give me 1 plus or minus radical 11 over 3. It doesn't just have to be a negative number. Like if I notice a GCF, I can go ahead and divide the 3 out of here because 3, 6, and 24 are all divisible by 3. So x squared minus 2x plus 8 equals 0. Therefore, x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 times 1 times 8 all over 2 times 1. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 32 over 2. X would equal 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 28 over 2. I'll simplify that radical. I can take a 4 out. So that would be x equals 2 plus or minus 2i root 7 over 2. Now I can divide the 2 out. So x equals 1 plus or minus I root 7. And there we go. I can do the same thing in this last example, except for instead of dividing by 3, I have that 1/3 out front, and that's going to be annoying. So I'm just going to multiply it by 3. That'll give me x squared plus 9x minus 60 equals 0. So then I do the exact same thing. X equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 4 times 1 times negative 60 all over 2 times 1. X equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus plus 240 all over 2. 81 plus, so that'd be what, 321? X equals negative 9 plus or minus the radical 321 over 2. I don't think 321. I think that might actually... I should have done my homework first. Well, I'll edit this out. Yeah, that's as simple as it gets. And there's my answer. All right. Thanks, guys, and have a good day.